Two of the most impressive creatures in the world, living in an African river, side by side. The hippo and the croc tolerate each other's presence. But others are a threat to both species when it comes to those too young to defend themselves. Armed with massive jaws, they fight for precious territory. When a bachelor male breaks off from his hippopod, it's inevitably seen as a challenge. A challenge readily accepted. The dominant hippo, giant jaws agape, forces the bachelor to back down. His territory and his females are secure, for now. Waters come and go in the wilds of Africa. The depths of the rivers are dictated by seasonal whim. All animals need access to water, a fact of life here, exploited by wily predators. A few call the river home. The name hippopotamus actually translates from the Greek as river horse. This enormous giant-jawed colossus is surprisingly a vegetarian. At night, solitary hippos browse on nearby vegetation. Don't be fooled by the beatific smile. Like dolphins, it's just the way their jaws are shaped. Hippos live in pods that typically consist of a dominant male, subordinate bachelors, females, and their offspring. Their neighbors, the mighty Nile crocodile, may be the only large creature on the continent that builds its own home. Tensions are running high here too, as males compete for the right to breed. The crocodile group, known as a basque, is ruled by a dominant male who uses his bulk to intimidate his rivals. With the lesser male subdued, he can seal the deal. Gentle contact and slowly circling are forms of crocodile foreplay and can last for many days. The dominant male will not restrict himself to a single mate. The privileges of power. Her angled head is a clear signal. Unlike the foreplay, mating can be over in minutes. To earn the same right to females in a hippo pod, a bachelor must keep the pressure on. Fights are sometimes all swagger and threat, but first blood has been drawn. The only way to avoid serious injury is to tactfully withdraw, or as it's better known, to run away. The blooded victor is quick to reinforce his status and mate with a submerged female. Hippos can control their nostrils and close them when underwater, where she can stay for up to 5 minutes. Months from conception in the wet season, she will give birth to a single calf. Crocodile offspring face challenges even in their nest as unhatched eggs. The mother only has to drop her guard for a moment. Monitor lizards can be responsible for the loss of over half a clutch. The mother is always on duty during nesting season. She'll patrol nearby for up to 3 months, rarely needing to feed. The eggs are kept warm by the sand layer. If the temperature gets too high, her wet body is employed to cool the nest. The adult's thick scales, as hard as bone, prevent her from drying out. But a crocodile can overheat, especially here, where the temperature can reach 35 degrees centigrade. The mother uses her environment to cool herself down. But when the croc's away, Eggs are tough to crack the younger they are, but this doesn't deter a small monitor. The mother has reclosed the ruptured nest, one egg down, with many more still at risk. There are more eggs to steal nearby. The thick-knees nest is also defended. These birds will try and thwart any raider, whatever the difference in sizes. Crocs have a remarkably ancient lineage, and some truly impressive distant cousins, the dinosaurs. It's believed they have 200 million years of evolution behind them. In most of that time, they have barely changed. The Nile crocodile is the continent's largest reptile and one of its largest predators. Stalking is not a croc's style. They are ambush predators. Impalas are residents here all year round. For this hungry mother, they are certainly on her menu. When the grazing is thin, this small antelope is compelled to find better feeding sites. The wet season is coming to a close, and in the impala's case, the grass is greener on the other side of the river. The croc stays low, her head at the surface belying the awesome power beneath. Instinct makes the gazelles wary, but they are impelled to risk it. Once in those giant jaws, there's no escape, and prey is drowned before being consumed. Despite the attraction of hunting large mammals, crocodiles feed primarily on river fish. Without croc predation, overwhelming numbers of catfish would unbalance the river ecosystem. Hippos come out of the river to feed at night. Crocs come out in the day and bask in the sun. It's believed that hippos diverged from their cetacean forebearers about 55 million years ago. Their uneasy relationship with the crocodile may be the reason for their apparent social nature. It's thought that hippos got together in large groups to protect their young from the reptile's giant jaws. They are not comfortable bedfellows. This male hippo is probably more curious about the dung on the croc's back than the reptile itself. Despite the physical contact, the croc does not initiate hostilities. Being in the wrong place at the wrong time can get an unlucky croc bitten in half by overprotective hippos. While the water levels stay high, both species generally stay out of each other's way. When it comes to aggression, the hippo has few rivals in the world. It's regarded as one of the most dangerous animals in Africa. Unsurprisingly, mothers are fiercely protective of their babies. And despite the presence of crocs, they know the safest place for their offspring is in the water. An opportunistic croc may snatch an unguarded youngster, but it would be reckless and even fatal to challenge a mother hippo to get at its offspring. The reason for being the most aggressive in terms of hippo hierarchy is to become the dominant bull with full access to females. It takes very little for a hippo to become defensive. Males have territories to defend, females their young to protect. If a hippo encounters any unfamiliar situation, it's bite first and there are no questions asked later. Hippo calves must stay close to their mother if violence erupts. If a dominant bull crosses a neighbor's line, the neighbor must defend his patch. Looking out for calves in a full-blown altercation is the last thing on the combatants' minds. Despite the hippos forming in groups to defend their young from crocs, it's that very proximity that results in tension and infighting. Adult aggression can lead to collateral damage. The young are led to the edge of the pod to avoid trouble. Mothers defending their calves will vigorously flap their tails and defecate to show submission. Males defend and mark their territory with posturing and threat yawning, a promise of violence to come. A hippo mother's vigilance is not infallible, and a wandering calf has a mind of its own. It finds itself in the thick of battle with split seconds to escape. the waters recede and fights break out inside the pond, it's the calves that are caught in the thick of it. The dominant male claims victory and underlines his status by spraying dung. If bachelors don't challenge the dominant bull's authority, the hippopod stays a peaceful place. But losers in a hippo duel don't leave the fight unscarred. And neither do witnesses unlucky enough to be caught between two fighting giants. The calf is badly wounded. All its mother can do is stand over it and wait for nature to take its course. The survivors of the croc's nest are breaking free. This means the monitor has a very protective mother to avoid. Her giant jaws are capable of biting with a ton of force. They can also tease her babies into her mouth for safe passage to water. The hatchings happen all at once. With this many, the mother can lose track. Other adult crocs regard the hatchlings simply as food. Shells weaken as the embryos absorb calcium. This makes hatching easier. The mother helps those whose shells are too hard to pierce from within. Because of their bite size, croc babies are significantly more vulnerable to predation than hippo calves. Even so, short a journey to the water would be a fatal one for many hatchlings. So the croc mother acts as a sort of offspring shuttle service. Once in the water, the hatchlings are home. With new life comes new curiosity. If any of her brood wander too far, she'll gently retrieve them. There are few predators here who would turn down the succulent mouthful that is baby croc. Sometimes an attack can come from above. There are plenty of land-based predators too. Yellow-billed storks have worked out how to expose prey in water with their feet. They are certainly partial to baby croc, but they are defended. Normally, vultures are quick to descend upon a carcass, but not one settled in water. It's an unopened gift to the neighboring lion pride. Usually, water will deter lions, but if the temptation is great and the spoil's well worth wet paws, then that's enough for this larger cub. The cub doesn't seem to pose any threat to the hippos. In this scenario, the potential threat comes from the pod. Already unsettled, the cub gives way to a lioness. More members of the pride begin arriving. One trespasser may be ignored and two tolerated, but more is a crowd and there's only room for one crowd here. Baby hippos may fall prey to lion predation, but no lion would take on a healthy adult without serious backup and, crucially, on dry land. Like elephants, hippos react to their dead with curiosity. Some may even interpret this behavior as mourning. Once the lions have opened up the body, the scavengers move in, like the marabou stork. The lone hippo threat yawns, drawing a line in the mud, and the lions have crossed it. The damage he could inflict is enormous, but he will only go so far. This is what happens when those giant hippo jaws make contact. The unfortunate lioness has hunted for the last time. The severity of her wound means she can't even take a drink. There's nothing to be done except lay down and die. At the hippopod, the mother and her wounded offspring are in crisis. The heat is stupefying and she must keep her calf in the water. This presents two problems. Firstly, she has to keep clear of the other boisterous pod members, but not be too near land to tempt an attack. Secondly, she has to keep her calf's head above the waterline, but the little one can't stay standing up. As the sun's ferocity evaporates the water, hippopods start becoming tense and unruly. The mother can only present herself as a line of defense between her stricken baby and the commotion of the pod. While there is still hope, she is fiercely protective. Crocs are all too aware of the potential meal, but keep their distance. Finally, the baby succumbs to the river. Its mother stands guard even though her cause is lost. She eventually moves on, allowing an all-too-inevitable ending to this African story. After a drop in the water levels, a lot of jostling and threats, the hippos reclaim their now smaller territories. They re-establish their hierarchical positions inside the pod. The dominant bull must lead by action, and that means violent confrontation with any challenging bachelor. Giant jaws get a workout as both test their strength. Hippo's canine teeth are razor sharp and can do a lot of damage. The fight is over quickly with no change in leadership. The dominant bull retains his exclusive right to females. In terms of reproductive success, there is a lot at stake. These hippo fights can be to the death. At the height of the dry season, water is disappearing fast. What was once a river is now just a smattering of pools. All will venture far to reach water. But at home in the pod, things are getting sticky. Predators are compelled to hunt and waterholes provide prey. The mighty Cape buffalo has to take water daily. Another mother, this one with an urge to drink, must face resident predators. One of Africa's most dangerous animals, Cape buffalo band together when threatened. Even if a lion is initially successful, it will bring the wrath of hundreds down on its shoulders. A fully grown buffalo can actually outrun a lion, and it's a 4 times heavier beast. There are few riskier animals to hunt, but to the lions, the risks must be worth it. Nocturnal predators, lions are seldom too active during the day. But if prey presents itself, they'll take the opportunity. The buffalo wall holds off the pride. For now. What was once a cool and inviting river is now a vast mud bath. Hippos have had a long-held reputation for mud wallowing, but this is not a frivolous matter. They have to keep cool in these temperatures, and a thick, viscous mud pack is the only recourse left open to them. Their skin may be thick and tough, but it's also sensitive and prone to sunburn. The mud provides protection from ultraviolet rays. Hippos have an extraordinary natural defense in the form of a self-produced sunscreen, a skin secretion of acidic pigments colored red and orange. Early researchers christened it blood sweat due to its scarlet-brown color. It is neither. The acidic blend protects their skin from burning, and more surprisingly, it impedes bacterial growth. It's a natural, self-made antiseptic. Some animals make odd bedfellows in desperate times. A hippo and croc mother share the same mud bath, a truce born of necessity. Crocs also need protection from the elements. Without fish or mammalian prey, they survive due to what's known as estivation, a kind of dry season hibernation. They essentially conserve energy and reserves for a long period of fasting. Add to this, crocodiles are famous for being the vertebrate with the most acidic stomach known to science. Everything that's consumed, bones included, is slowly and completely digested. The croc mother stores her survival fat in her gut, tail, and back. While some estivate in the mud, others, believe it or not, have homes to go to. This cave has been fashioned by crocs as a dry season retreat. It's built underwater when the water levels are high and the mud is soft. The riverbank is dotted with bespoke pre-built croc caves, and this points at a level of reptilian intelligence that no one can fathom. The cave entrances belie their interior space. Some can be 10 meters deep, used by 100 crocs and reused until it eventually caves in. With an abundance of fat already stored from a kill, she can go months without eating. This may account for their tenacity and survival, while other reptiles like the dinosaurs died out. The dry season is finally relaxing its grip. March kicks off the long rains. The river falls from the sky, drop by drop. Its waters engulf the croc caves, now unnecessary until next season. An African paradise returns to its former glory. And migrants pass through on their never-ending trek. If there are any moments of respite living in an African river, they're here now. In just a few months, the hippo mother will mate again and have another shot at motherhood. The croc babies have weathered a few storms, but the odds are not in their favor. Only a small percentage will reach adulthood. If you are one of the lucky ones, you are rewarded with long life. The river provides these extraordinary animals with a stage on which to unfold their stories. Survivors always have the best tales to tell. The smiles of the next generation of hippos belie their potential for great power. Play fighting is essential to the development of a young calf. It's the method by which they work out where they stand in the hierarchy of the pod. It's also a way of avoiding real trouble until they're old enough to handle it. Each one of the male calves, once in their prime, will challenge the ruling male for a pod of his own. He'll be up against a powerful adversary, and his fate will rise or fall on how well he's able to use his principal weapon: his jaws.